Live from Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati, there's a chill in the air as the 2011 season draws to its conclusion. The Cincinnati Reds are hosting the first-place Milwaukee Brewers. Jay Bruce gave the Reds hope with a big home run in the 11th inning last night. They'll try to put a clincher on the Brewers here tonight. Hi, hello, and welcome to Cincinnati, everyone. Along with the crafty left-hander Chris Welch, I'm George Grand. Last year, the Reds were in first place for 110 games in a season where they finished as the division champions. The Milwaukee Brewers go into tonight 5 games ahead of the Cardinals, 13 ahead of the Reds. Their 87th game in first place. It's been their season.
George, good to see you. First of all, I got to tell you that. And you know what? It has been their season. And you look at the standings right now and you think, wait, they're 5.5 games up on the St. Louis Cardinals. That's a nice, comfy lead. Their magic number is 8. But the fact is they've not played very well over the last 8 games. They're just 2-6 over that period of time. And if the Reds can weave the same kind of magic that they've done so far here at Great American Ballpark this year against the Brewers, all of a sudden they're biting their nails up there in Milwaukee.
Bronson Arroyo's a veteran Reds pitcher. He'll take the mound for Cincinnati tonight. And the guy who has won 10 times against the Cincinnati Reds is Randy Wolf.
Well, he's a guy that really adjusts. I mean, he's a left-hander that used to be a big curveball pitcher. Now he's throwing more fastballs and changeups. A couple of left-handers in the lineups back-to-back in Joey Votto and Jay Bruce. Other than that, you got a whole bunch of right-handers in there. Dusty Baker, his club's only 2 games under 500. He wants this series very badly, so the Reds are going to get after him here in this next 3 games.
Dusty wants 500. Brandon Phillips wants 300. That is 300 hitting for the season. Next up, we'll talk about Brandon and the Reds as they take on the Brewers on Fox Sports Ohio.
And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Great night for baseball. Little chill in the air, but no baseball game here in Cincinnati at Great American Ballpark would be complete without our good buddy and fine meteorologist. Let's go to Tim Hedrick.
When I go down to the ballpark to watch a Reds game, I love walking by that mural right there. Oh, they're doing some great things down at the Banks. It'll be a cool one tonight. First pitch 63, halfway home 60, heading for home about 56. Enjoy the game on Fox Sports Ohio.
Looks good, Timmy, and this guy looks good too. Brandon Phillips, he's been near 300 for the month of September, and Chris's goal is to hit 300 for the year.
Well, it'll be the first time in a long time that a Reds second baseman would finish the year at 300, but he's seeing the ball well. Not only is he hitting for an average, he's hitting a lot of home runs. 4 home runs in his last 4 ball games for Brandon Phillips, young man that has really taken to the leadoff spot this time around.
He's had a big month of September, 4 homers during the Cubs series. He's looking for 300. The Reds are looking for a victory. Coming up next, Cincinnati baseball. Ramon Hernandez and company against the Brew Crew.
Drive One by the Regional Tourism Network. Book your trip at CincinnatiUSA.com and by Skyline Chili. Whenever you're feeling good and hungry, it's Skyline time.
Skyline time and baseball time here at Great American Ballpark. Brewers against the Reds, the first of the final series between these two teams for the 2011 season. Let's check the starting lineup for the Milwaukee Brewers for the man who will hopefully head them to the postseason, and that's Ron Renicky. At the top of the order, Nigel Morgan. What a spark plug he has been. The veteran Mark Kotze will be in right field. He's given them solid leadership on the bench and in the lineup. Ryan Braun and Prince Fielder, they are co-favorites for MVP in the National League. Ricky Weeks, back off the disabled list, is back at second. Taylor Green will be your third baseman. Yudieski Betancourt will be your shortstop. George Koutaris will do the catching, and Randy Wolf, who's won 10 times against the Reds in his career, will be on the mound. Here comes Bronson Arroyo, our Farmers Insurance Group story. Chris, which Bronson will show up, the Colorado or the St. Louis Bronson?
Well, those are just the last couple of starts for Bronson Arroyo. One very, very good against the Cardinals, one very bad against the Colorado Rockies. And, you know, he's traded good and bad really going all the way back to the beginning of August. So you hope that this is one of those same trends that Bronson Arroyo go out there and have a real good game tonight.
They said Nigel Morgan is in with that 308 average. Morgan He's an outstanding bunter. He'll sacrifice and he'll bunt for a base hit. He's been outstanding since coming over to this ball club. He's been a spark plug, Chris. You get the good and the bad with Nyjer Morgan. The good is the way he's played on the field, and sometimes he can be incendiary the way he reacts off the field.
Not so bad when your team is winning. I mean, he brings you energy, and when you have a losing ball club, you don't want a guy like Morgan around, because when things are going bad and guys are a little bit on the irritable side, this is the kind of guy that can blow up your clubhouse. But when you're winning and you can overlook those little things like that, he does a lot for you on the field.
You want to get to 2 strikes to him fast because he has 7 bunt hits. Arroyo does that, gets him to pop out, and there's your first out of this first inning as Paul Janisch will haul it in. Let's check your 4 defensive alignment behind Bronson tonight. In the outfield, Dave Chappelle will be in left. Chris Heisey will get the start in center, and home run Jay Bruce, who won last night's game in the 11th, is over in right. Miguel Cairo, Janisch, Phillips, and Votto across the infield, and Ramon Hernandez will catch Bronson. That is your 4 defensive alignment. Chris Heisey's putting in a pretty good vote for himself of late, isn't he, Chris?
Well, you know, Chris Heisey has been outstanding for the Reds, especially coming off the bench. He's provided some big-time hits and some home runs off the bench. And the only next step for Chris Heisey is to prove that he can play every day. Played right field last night, giving Drew Stubbs the night off tonight. He'll take over in center.
There's Mark Kotsay, and Kotsay facing Arroyo comes in overall 6 for 21 and a couple of home runs, just about 280 against Bronson. Against the Reds, 207. He's come up with 3 or 4 key hits for the Brewers this year in game-winning situations, either hits to win a game or hits to prolong a rally late in a game or in extra innings. A veteran presence, he along with Craig Counsell, instrumental in the growth of this ball club, you'd have to say, during the course of this year, Chris.
Well, you know, he's a veteran that has been on a lot of different ball clubs. He knows what it's like to be around a little bit, and Renicky needs a guy like that. I mean, he has some coaches that have been around, but Kotsay, a left-handed hitter, that's why he's in there tonight against Bronson Arroyo. Arroyo has had a lot of problems against left-handers, and tonight there are 6 left-handed hitters, including the pitcher, in the lineup. So it'll be one of those challenging nights for Bronson.
They've loaded up against Bronson, who in his career has won 11 times against the Milwaukee Brewers with an ERA of 3.66. This year he's 2-0 against Milwaukee. For Bronson, he's making his team high 30th start of the season, the 100th career start at Great American Ballpark, and 199th for the Reds. Bang down to Votto. Arroyo is always in the right place there to take the throw. Votto handles it. Arroyo feels his position. He won a Gold Glove last year perfectly, and the Reds have quickly 2 outs.
Well, when you're a first baseman and you're facing a lot of left-handed hitters in this lineup, Joey Votto figures to do that play a lot tonight. A hot shot on the ground down there. Bronson Arroyo's primary pitch is either going to be a sinking fastball or a curveball down and inside to right left-handers, and they're just going to rip that ball hard to the right side. So Joey Votto playing deep, knock it down, get your pitcher over there, and our Performance Honda Expo shows a pretty good look at Votto's defense.
And it didn't appear to be that critical, Chris, but you look at Bronson, how quickly he got over to first to give Votto a good setup and a good place to throw, and that's what he's done throughout his career. Outstanding defensive.
Well, they practiced that, and you know, Bronson Arroyo didn't win the Gold Glove last year just by showing up. I mean, that's part of covering your position when you're a pitcher. That might be the most important thing. Get over there and cover first base.
Slice to the right side. Over goes Jay Bruce. He'll squeeze it, and it's a 1-2-3 for Bronson. Braun retired. We're going to the bottom of 1. Bruce gives a souvenir, and he'll hit 4th. front of him, Brandon Phillips, who's been on fire, leads it off. 4 home runs in the last series against the Cubs. Dave Chappelle will get the start in left. Joey Votto and Jay Bruce back him up at 3 and 4. Chris Heisey in center field for Stubbs. He'll hit in the 5th spot. Miguel Cairo, Ramon Hernandez, Paul Giannis, the shortstop, and Bronson Arroyo will hit in the number 9 position. On the mound for the Milwaukee Brewers, this 35-year-old making his 31st start of the season, Randy Wolf.
Well, coming off a very good outing his last time out against the best team in the National League, the Philadelphia Phillies. 7 innings of 2-run baseball in that game. He got a no decision there. He actually was a former Philly at one point. And interesting thing about Randy Wolf is that he is throwing every bit as hard now, if not harder, than he did when he broke into the major leagues back in 2002 and 2003. Fastball, curveball, cutter, and changeup, but you're going to see more four-seam fastballs and changeups tonight. He'll break out that curveball if he needs it, but that's usually now his 3rd pitch.
The 35-year-old broke in back in 1999 with Philadelphia. Spent the majority of his career with Philadelphia. This is his 2nd year with Milwaukee. He won 13 for Milwaukee last year, trying to equal that figure this year. Last year he was 13-12 and an ERA of over 4. This year, coming in 12-9 and an ERA under 3.5. So he's, as you've mentioned, Chris, pitching well and pitching at the right time well for this Milwaukee ball club. Slice towards right. Here comes Kotze, and he'll squeeze it. Mark Kotze, outstanding defensively wherever you put him, in left or right. Makes the first out. Phillips retired. And there's your 4 defensive alignment for the Brew Crew. Braun in left, Morgan in center, Kotze in right. Taylor Green gets the start at 3rd. Yuneski, the shortstop, Ricky's at 2nd, and Prince Fielder's over at 1st. And Randy Wolf will have George Kataros behind home plate. Silver bat winner, Ryan Braun, and he's become, Chris, for a guy who came up as a 3rd baseman and was a liability, he's become very solid in left.
Well, it's a lot easier to play left field than it is 3rd base, especially when you have some ground ball pitchers on your staff the way the Milwaukee Brewers do. But I mean, he's worked very hard at it, but make no mistake about it, Ryan Braun gets all the attention in the league because he is an excellent hitter and not necessarily because he ranges well in left field.
The Brewers look like they were going to run away and hide 2 weeks ago in the National League Central. They've stumbled a bit. Chappelle drills this one to left. Braun won't catch up with it. It'll be 2 hops to the warning track. Chappelle rounds first, goes to 2nd. He'll have his 7th double of the season. He hopped on that high delivery and made Wolf pay, and the Reds have a runner in scoring position.
It was probably a ball out of the strike zone. And the more you see Dave Chappelle play, the more you begin to like the way this guy has some natural pop in his bat. That ball right up around the letters, and most guys who are short in stature, short arms, love that ball up, and he is no different than that.
Dusty Baker has put him in the leadoff spot. He's hit him deep in the order. In this spot, they hope to give him some fastballs. That's exactly what he got. He hopped all over it, hitting in front of Joey Votto. Well, here's Joey at 319, 28 homers, 95 knocked in. The MVP last year, and Chris, you've watched him all season long, been around him since spring training after he won the MVP. I don't know, I think this year is even better than last year.
Well, I think he may agree with you, George. You know, the interesting thing is, though, that the Reds won the division last year. That's why he was the MVP. For him to win the MVP this year, he'd have to have a year like George Foster did back in, what, 1975, drive in about 150. That's what it would take for him to do that. Interesting the way the Brewers play him. It's kind of reverse coverage. They play him to pull on the ground in the infield and to play away. You see Nyjer Morgan out here in center field. He is shading a little bit towards left.
And that tells you how they're going to pitch him, too. You saw him get that strike on the outside corner, and they set up away again. That's a line shot into right. That's a base hit. Here comes Chappelle around 3rd. He'll breeze home, and the Reds have a 1-0 lead. Chalk it up. RBI number 96 for Joey Votto, heading to 100 again, and the Reds lead it 1-0.
Both hits in this inning by the Reds are pitches up. Watch where this breaking ball is. Way up there for Joey Votto, and up for a breaking ball is thigh high rather than down around the shins. And the Brewers have to be thinking, you know what? We've lost 2 out of 8, or we've lost 6 of the last 8 games. We never play well here in Cincinnati, and here the Reds all of a sudden have won 3 in a row here at home, and they're on board already. You know, this might be a little time to start gripping if you're the Milwaukee Brewers.
And just like the Reds a year ago, Cincinnati, of course, had a lot of young players that made it to the pennant race for the first time in their career, and that's the same story with the Brewers this year. That'll get Bruce on the forearm, and Jay will march down to first. So the Reds will have first and second, still only one out. Here's the National League Central story, our Honda standings update going into tonight. The Cardinals 5.5 back, the Reds 13 back. The Reds' magic number for being eliminated from the wild card chase is 1. The Brewers trying to close in on a divisional championship. Ron Renicky, a bona fide candidate for manager of the year in the National League. Jerry Narron behind him, Garth Orge behind him, and his pitching coach as well directly behind him is Rick Kranitz. No balls, 1 strike in the dirt. And unlike the Randy Wolf we've seen of late, he's either been up in the strike zone or out of the strike zone so far in this first inning.
Well, you know, he's had his way with the Reds. You mentioned earlier on, George, that he has won 10 games against the Reds in his career. 10 wins, 4 losses, good earned run average, coming off a good outing. But, you know, in his last 9 games, he's allowed 2 runs or less. But in 3 of those 9, he's allowed 5 or more. So he's been either real good or real bad. And maybe the Reds can get him on a bad night.
As he drills this to left center, under it is Braun. He'll have it. The runners will not be able to advance. Hit it towards the end of the bat, and a fly ball that Braun closes on, and there's 2 away, and that'll bring up Cairo. Dusty, as he said very often of late, his goal, if there is one right now, is to finish 500 on the season. And he's doing it trying to give the young players time to play and playing some of the veterans as well. So tonight, the veterans in the lineup are Hernandez behind the plate. Usually it's Hannigan catching Arroyo, and Cairo gets the start over at third. So here's Miggy. Cairo at 267, 7 homers, 32 knocked in, through the legs, knocked down by Weeks, and they will get the out at second.
Wow.
Great play by Ricky Weeks, just off the disabled list. He flashes outstanding defensive work. The Reds rally shortened. They still lead at 1-0. Can one of these guys be the MVP in the National League? It looks like one of them probably will be. Prince Fielder. Big time home run numbers. Ryan Braun solid offensively again. He's already won 3 silver bats. Chris, tough to pick between these two.
Hey, can you give co-MVPs? Because you really wonder, if you're a Brewers fan especially, would one of those guys be enough to get this team where they are right now? Or did the Brewers need those kind of great seasons out of both of them to be able to get it done.
79, Willie Stargell, Keith Hernandez split the MVP award. And over the Big Red Machine era years, you could almost pick two guys every year. You know, Bench and Morgan, Foster and Bench, Perez, Rose, listed every single year during that era. Your storylines brought to you by Elk & Elk, serious lawyers for serious injuries. Dial 1-800-ELK, Ohio. Here's Prince, 294 overall. You saw the home run figure at 32 and 109 knocked in already. And you know the full story. We've been talking about it all year. His last year under contract with the Milwaukee Brewers. They offered him basically the same deal they offered Ryan Braun in the offseason. He turned it down. Braun picked it up. So Braun, a multi-million-dollar winner, and he'll be in the Brewers camp till at least 2015.
You think that's the difference between having Scott Boras as an agent and not having Scott Boras as an agent? I mean, because Fielder's represented by Boras and Braun is not. And Boras, of course, is known throughout baseball for extracting the every last dollar he can possibly get from everybody he deals with.
Well, that's good news for his clients. And Prince sends this one deep to right, back looking up, and that's going to be gone. Prince Fielder's 33rd of the season, and just like that, the 1-0 lead is a tie game. That's his 4th career home run against Bronson Arroyo. So Prince ties this one up as the leadoff hitter here in the 2nd inning. Now, you know about Prince's numbers. That's 33. And for number 61 on the mound, that's number 41 on the season, Chris. 41 homers allowed.
Yeah, and that separates him from the all-time leader in the Reds, Eric Milton, who had given up 40 home runs in one season previously. And that's a 3-1 curveball right there. Bronson thinking, you know what, 3-1, I really don't have enough fastball to get him out. I'm just going to flip a curveball up there and see what happens. And we saw what happened.
Well, wherever he plays next year, he's putting in a pretty good vote for himself with his bat this year. Yeah, and to continue what you're talking about, the one thing that Scott Boras has always done with his clients is go to free agency. I mean, he will very rarely, for a big name client, allow them to sign prior to the free agency mode. And who knows, he still may end up in Milwaukee. Very unlikely, though.
And it doesn't mean that he can't not come back to Milwaukee just because he won't sign or get an extension during the season.
The reality of it is, though, how can you give one guy $100 million and another guy $100+ million? And in that size market, very difficult. Very similar to the decision. And Doug Melvin will have that decision in Milwaukee. And Walt Jocketty, the same story as Joey Votto comes up here in Cincinnati. Fly ball to right, Bruce under it, and there's a fly ball that retires Ricky Weeks. For the Brewers, they're glad to have number 23 back in the lineup. Ankle injury kept him on the sidelines for a prolonged period of time. Appeared in this his 109th game of the season. Came off the disabled list last week after missing 39 games. And he showed no ill effects with that play to end the 1st inning. Still says he doesn't feel his comfort zone at home plate is there yet. Doesn't feel he has his timing back as yet. So 1 away, 1 run in, and here's Taylor Green. This is his 13th game with the Brewers. He was the Brewers minor league player of the year, and he hammered it, hitting over 300, 336 in 123 games down at AA Huntsville. One thing with Ricky Weeks out, they've gotten a chance to look at some infielders in the last month and a half. There's a bouncer down to Brandon. Don't hit it there. Anybody will tell you that. The Gold Glover takes care of it. 2 away. And don't forget, you can always get ready for Reds action 30 minutes before every game with the Emmy award-winning Reds Live on Fox Sports Ohio. And be sure to tune in Saturday, September the 17th. That's tomorrow. We'll have a special hour-long Reds Live in order to bring you the Johnny Bench ceremony and statue unveiling in its entirety. Get underway at 6 o'clock on Saturday. That's Red Live presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. Hope you had a chance to see Reds Live today, so you think you're a Reds fan. Nice job, mi compadre.
Well, when they ask you questions about yourself, I can answer them. Other than what you had for breakfast, I could probably get most of them.
You only, your mom and dad, they would be proud of you, but they would have been prouder if you could have done that at St. X too. Good job.
Thank you. It's a lot of fun. Good. It's a fun game show to watch every Friday. I know that there are a lot of people stop me all around and say, man, that Friday game show, that is one of our favorite things that we see on our pregame show every week.
And I'm sure Don Carmen was happy again tonight, because we always mention at least a couple of times a year, because that was the only guy who ever hit a homer on.
George, I was really disappointed that you're not as closely affiliated with the Hall of Fame as you used to be, because now the chance of getting Don Carmen in are becoming more and more diminished every year.
I still work behind the scenes. I'll get you covered. I'll get you covered. Popped up to short. Unieski Betancourt pops out, and that'll end the inning. A 1-2-3 after the Prince Fielder homer. Prince's homer number 33 on the year. We're tied. Center at 7 o'clock, and Columbus Grove battles Lima Central at 7:30 all Saturday inside the Prep Zone on FoxSportsOhio.com, presented by 1-800-SAFE-AUTO and SafeAuto.com. You need a little bit of coverage for the last couple of nights. Chilly night at the ballpark last night. Same thing here tonight. And tomorrow will be a very special night at the ballpark. They'll unveil the Johnny Bench statue outside the ballpark. We'll have all the pregame ceremonies for you. And as the weekend progresses, Chris, a lot of the former Reds will be motoring into town. It's amazing. His career has been so superlative, but I mean, having a statue erected outside a stadium in your honor that's amazing. I mean, Hall of Fame is special, yes, and the Reds Hall of Fame is special, but that really has to be a top performer, and I know he's been so humbled by all of this.
Well, I'm not sure the exact number of the players that are in the National Hall of Fame, George. You might know that or be able to come close, but there are hundreds anyway. And but there aren't hundreds of statues outside stadiums around baseball parks, and that's when it becomes very, very special company that you're in. And of course, Johnny Bench has had so many accolades, MVPs, titles, and all sorts of things that he can put on his bookshelf. But this is one, as he has mentioned, that it really has finally sunk in for him. That, you know, years from now, his generations of the Bench family will be able to visit Cincinnati, Great American Ballpark, and look out there and say, there's my grandfather, there's my great-grandfather, there's my great-great-grandfather there in a statue, and that makes it very, very special to honor maybe one of the best Reds of all time.
We'll be there for all the ceremonies, and of course JB will join us during the game tomorrow night as well. Ramon Hernandez flies out for the first out of the bottom of the second, and here's Paul Yanis. Yanis steps in at 204. 13 doubles, a triple, and no home runs, and 21 knocked in on the season. Bronson Arroyo will follow him. Cardinals leading Philadelphia 1-0. They're just underway. 5.5 game difference between the Cardinals and the Brewers to start a play today. Wide to third. Green has it over to Fielder, and there's your second out of the inning. Don't forget, follow the Reds with MLB.com at Bat 11 for your iPhone, iPad, Android, or BlackBerry. Get live audio, pitch-by-pitch tracking, video highlights, and a whole lot more. Text at Bat to 31826 or visit Reds.com for more details. Jerry Narron, the former Reds manager, next to Ron Renicky. I think if you're sitting down and tabulating who the manager of the year in the National League will be, you got to have a vote for that guy on the right, and he admits it, and Jerry Narron will not acknowledge it, but you know, Chris, he's been a great benefit to him. We've seen a lot of bench coaches over the years. Jerry has been one of the most valuable at stealing signs, at feeling tendencies for the opposition, at being on top of the game. So they've been a good duo on that bench.
I think it's a perfect position for Jerry Narron. I really think that he's a much better bench coach than he was a manager, and that he's such an astute baseball student of the game. I mean, he sees things that a lot of people just don't see during the course of a ball game. He's always out early to watch the opposition batting practice, and I think he's in an excellent spot right there.
Former Reds manager from 2005 to 2007. 1, 2, 3, go the Reds. Here we go to the third. Contreras leads it off.
I'm just trying to go out here and just finish strong. You know, a lot of people are weak right now. I'm just trying to, show people that I'm still strong, and I'm just trying to just go out here and have a great all-around season, like I thought, like I was during the off season. I really made a lot of goals for myself. It's kind of hard for me to reach some of my goals because I was going up and down in the lineup, but I'm very happy with the season that I'm having right now, and all that I can really do is just keep on thriving and keep on battling and keep on having a great year so far.
Comes in at 296 as our Geico quote of the night has Brandon Phillips chronicled, trying to reach 300 on the year since taking over in the leadoff spot. He's really given the Reds a big-time boost at the top of the order. And as you look at the next year, Chris, he's under contract for next year. The Reds have an option for him for next year, and they will obviously exercise that option. The question is, he has made it clear he would like to have an extended contract offered, and they'd like to negotiate that at some point in time. Now, that won't transpire if it does till the off season, but if you come back right now, is he your leadoff hitter next year?
Well, I would imagine so. I mean, the way he has taken to the leadoff spot so far here in the second part of the season, or the second half of the season, put it that way, then absolutely. I mean, he's putting quite a rush on to show you that he can fill that spot, and that's one of the things that Walt Jocketty needs to address. I mean, if you don't bring Brandon Phillips back, you're going to look for a second baseman and a leadoff hitter and maybe some people in left field. Well, those are the numbers leading off this year, and they're pretty good ones.
Katara sends this to center. Heisey will flag it down. There's one away. Take another look at that. Give you a little more time to digest it. No matter how you slice it, he's been outstanding in the leadoff spot. He's hit safely in 24 of his 27 appearances. His on-base percentage has been higher in that spot than any other place he's been in the order this season. And he's given the Reds a jump start there, something that Cincinnati needed offensively at that point. And it was Brandon who went to Dusty when we were in Washington that really precipitated that. One away, and here's Randy. Wolf at 179. No homers, no runs knocked in.
But all that said, George, I don't think that if the Reds simply go to Brandon Phillips and say, Brandon, we're going to pick up your option next year, and you're going to come back, we're going to pay you in excess of what, $10 or $11 million, and that should be a slap in the face to Brandon Phillips. Yes, he wants a long-term deal, and maybe they can work one out, but when you agree to a contract with an option at the very end of that contract, that's part of the deal. I mean, that's something that Brandon already agreed to. So it's not like all of a sudden the Reds are changing the rules on him. That's the way the deal has been for many, many years. Does he want to stay here in Cincinnati? Yes. Do the Reds want him here? Absolutely yes. Do fans want him here? That is another resounding yes. I don't think there's a better second baseman in baseball right now. And you've got a huge hole to fill if he's not around in 2013. But I think they'll figure out a way to work it out. I just don't want to see Brandon get all worked up in the meantime.
No, but it's human nature. And we've all seen it, Chris. You've had teammates who have been affected by it. And I think that's the story that will unfold this offseason and possibly into next year as well. That's fouled off by Randy Wolf. And you talked about Scott Boras. It's a perfect example. You set the marketplace, and whether if you're Prince Fielder, you want to see what Albert Pujols signs for, and that sets your marketplace too. For Brandon Phillips, the contract that Dan Uggla signed, I mean, he's looking for something like that. So you're talking about the marketplace. You're talking about the size market that the Reds are in, which would make it very difficult to sign every one of these young players to multi-year deals in a market this size.
Yeah, but he's going to say, well, you signed Joey Votto to a big contract, and you extended Jay Bruce, who doesn't have anywhere near the kind of numbers that I've had so far in my career, and you've given all these other guys long-term deals. Why not me?
Chappelle coming in, got it. Dave Chappelle, brilliant play defensively. Robin Wolf of at least one, maybe two bases right here.
Well, he's played center field before. Dave Chappelle has. He's got plenty of speed. That is his main asset, and he comes in and make a nice play on a dying quail right there. I guess getting back to Brandon Phillips, he just doesn't want to be the guy that feels like he's left out.
Yep.
And he says, what more can I do? I play Gold Glove second base. I've taken on the leadoff spot after I've been in the number 4 hole for the last couple of years. I've done everything you asked. I sign autographs. I come to Reds Fest. I go on the Winter Caravan. I make appearances for the ball club. I keep my nose clean. I'm not a guy that is ever going to embarrass the ball club. And why not me? And I think that's probably where he's coming from.
I think the other side of that is the Reds general manager, Walt Jocketty. I mean, he was the man in St. Louis that was ahead of the curve, that signed Albert Pujols after his 3rd year to the 8-year deal. He got it done before it became an issue. And at some point in time, as you look at the pecking order and look at who is coming up in the next couple of years, you know that he's going to take care of business.
Well, it's all going to have to be run by Bob Castellini before anything is any I's are dotted and T's are crossed. And George Grant.
Yeah. This is a game of baseball, a game on the field, and a game of monetary gamesmanship as well.
I kind of liked it better when it was more about on the field stuff. That every decision that you make is really about baseball decisions rather than trading contracts. And that's really what people do nowadays.
The job of a general manager and an owner these days is far more difficult than it ever was back in the Big Red Machine era, back in the 50s, back in the 20s, you name it. It's a whole different world. Morgan marches down to first as Bronson issues his first walk of the night, and here comes Kotsay. Tonight's Mega Millions jackpot, now $65 million, brought to you by the Ohio Lottery. Play today. $65 million. The drawing's at 11. So Morgan, who has stolen base potential, down at first. Pretty good sized lead as Kotsay steps in with 2 away. Katse bounced to first time up. Sky to center, turning, heading to the warning track, at the wall. It is gone. Mark Katse has hit his 3rd home run off Arroyo in his career, his 3rd home run of the year. And that 2-run shot gives the Brewers a 3-1 lead. It's been his bugaboo all season long, Chris, the home run ball, and it is again here tonight.
Well, the difference, I think, for Bronson Arroyo this year, that pitch right there is a sinking fastball. And it's not really the location, but in my estimation, it's a velocity. When Bronson Arroyo can't throw the ball in excess of 90 miles an hour, hitters don't have to cheat to catch up to the fastball. They can sit back and wait for the breaking ball and not worry about being fooled. So I can tell you, as a guy that pitches in the mid-80s with a fastball, it's not an easy thing to do.
Look out. This one's going long, too. Ryan Braun's 29th of the year. Back-to-back homers. 3rd homer of the night for Milwaukee, and they lead it 4-1.
They're very comfortable in the batter's box right now. And you see Ryan Braun on a first pitch taking that ball the other way like that. Then Mark Kotsay puts a nice, easy swing on a low outside sinking fastball and drives it over the center fielder's head for a home run. I mean, that caught a little bit of the play. That's outer third up, but that's still a first pitch slider. And you're looking going away like that because you don't have to worry about getting beat on the fastball. And that's what it boils down to with Bronson Arroyo. He's going to have to figure out a way to get a few miles an hour back, or a little more movement on his fastball.
LeBron now within 1 of a 30 homer season, 29 on the year. That's 3 homers tonight. Carlos Gomez asked him if it was a changeup as opposed to a slider, and he's getting a scouting report from Braun. That gives the Brewers now 165 homers on the season. The Reds lead the league, coming into tonight with 175. Here's Prince, who started the home run parade with a leadoff homer last inning.
Well, you get kind of shell-shocked here. You know, you give up back-to-back home runs, and now you face a guy that has took you deep his last time up, and now all of a sudden you're 3-0 because you think you have to be perfect with the pitch. And you really do. I mean, unless Arroyo really starts throwing inside to try to get these guys off the plate and then pinpointing his fastball outside, he's going to continue to struggle against lefties.
That's a walk to Prince. So second walk of the inning. 2 walks, 2 homers, and that'll send Brian Price out to do a little checkup. And Chris, you were there in spring training, and whether it was mononucleosis, some feel it might have been valley fever that affected a lot of people out in Arizona, but he was never physically right from the start of the season. And as we come to the conclusion of the season, I still think he's 100%.
I don't think he is either. I mean, there's 3 things really have been wrong with Bronson. One is the mononucleosis in spring. He's had carpal tunnel syndrome in his pitching arm over the last couple of years, and he's had a bad back. His back was so bad earlier in the year that the Reds sent him back from Philadelphia to get an epidural. Not a cortisone shot, but an epidural, which is a rather drastic way to treat a back injury. So, you know, he's gutting it out a lot because he doesn't want to miss a start. But at the same time, you can see that he doesn't have the same snap in his pitches that he did last year when he won 17 games.
He's been hammered by lefties all year long, Chris.
Yeah, and this is really what it is right here. I mean, look at the batting average against lefties, righties. But when you're giving up a .335 batting average to lefties, the opposing manager is going to load up that lineup with lefties.
Here's Ricky Weeks, flat out his first time up. Weeks has 2 homers against Bronson, one of them of the leadoff variety here at Great American Ballpark. Sky to the middle of the infield. Votto coming over. He'll squeeze it. Well, an inning that started promisingly with 2 straight outs ended with a 2-run homer and a singleton, and Braun gives the Brewers a 4-1 lead. New this year is Reds Spring Training Package, which includes an exclusive meet and greet with Reds personnel, custom Reds merchandise, great seats to watch your Reds, and more. For information on 2012 spring training, visit reds.com/springtraining. Travel today. Not a better facility in all of spring training baseball than the Reds facility in Goodyear. Are you getting ready? You getting your arm ready for
fantasy
baseball
camp?
Heaven?
I'll be ready for baseball heaven this year, George.
You're fully recovered after last year's surgery?
Yeah, hopefully I'll do more than just talk a good game.
Here's Brandon, flied out first time up, leading it off in the third. Phillips, Appelt, and Votto due up as the Brewers 4 runs, 3 hits, no errors, and the Reds a run and 2 hits. Cincinnati's run came in the first, a double by Appelt, a single by Votto. Off to the end of the bat. Here comes Taylor. Double clutches and not in time, in the dirt. They'll score a base hit for Brandon. He'll take it. He's 1 for 2.
Just goes to show you that slow roller play is not an easy play for a regular third baseman. I mean, we've seen some very good ones made by Reds defenders this year. Scott Rowland might be the best. Todd Frazier's made some nice ones. Juan Francisco has made some. That ball, once you bobble it over there, even with a little cheap move at first base by Prince Fielder, you've got to get rid of it in a hurry. And Brandon Phillips just fast enough to pick up another base hit.
Here comes Appelt, who doubled and then scored on the base hit by Votto in the first inning.
I like the idea right there of Dave Appelt. Push that bunt. If he's thinking about a bunt right here, it's not down the third baseline, but it's in that area right over here between first and second, and you can have a lot of confusion between pitcher and first baseman. That's why Prince Fielder just ran over there to Randy Wolf to say something about that.
Especially with a left-hander on the mound.
Yeah, that's when it works the best. When you have a left-hander on the mound who falls a little bit towards third base. Wolf is very athletic. He doesn't really push off and fall over that much. But it gives you kind of a running start as a right-hander to push that ball. You almost do it with 1 foot in the air on your way to first base.
Norris Hopper made a career out of that, didn't he?
He did indeed. He could make a career out of teaching that.
You're not kidding. Strike 1 to the Reds left fielder. Tries it again and fouls it off.
Well, the key, though, is not just go on any pitch that's coming in there, but shrink the strike zone like you normally do. You wait a little bit longer in the batter's box till you read the ball as coming in as a ball or a strike. There's no reason that you have to run out of the box because, of course, if you make contact with the ball with your foot on the ground outside the batter's box, you're automatically out. So Dave just a little bit aggressive right there.
So he's in an 0-2 hole right now, and that breaking ball will lock him up. Well, the good news was the idea. The bad news was the execution, and this pitch track will show you how he strikes out on 3 pitches.
Big old roundhouse curveball coming in the back door right there, meant to give up on it. And Randy Wolf has done that to a whole lot of right-handers in his career.
Second strikeout for Randy tonight, and here comes Joey. Votto singled to right to knock in the Reds run in the first. He's hit well against Wolf, 320 for his career, and there goes another. He's 2 for 2. Phillips around second. He'll slam on the brakes and hold there. He had an idea of going to third, but Kotze is so solid defensively. He got to the ball rapidly and threw a strike to the cutoff man. And Mark Berry held him up.
Can Joey Votto hit or what? I mean, it is just unbelievable how often he centers the baseball on the sweet part of the bat. I mean, in batting practice, he never misses or rarely ever misses. You compare him to other guys around, it's like night and day. Lefty on lefty, big
Amazing.
deal.
Amazing.
Now, Bruce got hit with a pitch last time, a fastball in, and that's kind of a good sign, because if he bailed away from that ball and it didn't hit him, it shows me that he's kind of stepping and pulling off the pitch. He's staying right in there against Wolf, and that's a good strategy.
Well, a year ago this coming week, it was Jay Bruce's home run that clinched the division for the Reds. And the pandemonium, the elation was outstanding. But, Chris, I think the elation was almost as great last night when he hit one in the 11th inning. Everybody wanted to go home, huh?
Well, the Reds wanted to go home. You know, the Cubs scored 4 runs in the first inning. They did not score again until the 9th. And those that may have not watched a whole lot of baseball probably wonder, how does that happen?
There's a grounded down to second. Weeks will shovel it over for 1 on to first, and that'll end the inning on the double play ground ball. Reds get a couple of base runners, nothing to show for it. To the top of 4 we go.
Our military around the world. JTM Food Group. By your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers. For a dealer near you, visit buyatoyota.com. By Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit us at geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. And by Powerade Ion 4. Focus, hustle, hydrate, believe.
Great to have you with us back at Great American Ballpark. 4 runs, 3 hits for Milwaukee, a run, 4 hits for the Reds. Fielder, Kotze, and Braun each have homered for Milwaukee. Here's Green to lead it off as we go to the top of the 4th. Betancourt and Katsaris will follow. That's a strike right down the middle. 1 ball and 1 strike to the Brewer third baseman. Big night for our Fox Sports Ohio crew. Hope you had a chance to see. So you think you're a Reds fan before the game. Chris was a slam dunk. Answered every question Jim Day had for you.
Well, it took me a long time, George, now my 19th season, to finally get on that game show. And I've been dying to get on there. And now, from what I understand, you will be on that game show at some point next year in 2012. And, you know, it's such a popular segment of our everyday, you know, pregame. It comes on once a week, only on Fridays. That evidently, I hear rumor that maybe they're going to expand that, and all the Fox regionals will end up having a game show modeled after the one formed by Jim Day and Jeff Pecoro.
I'll do it if Jesse will come with me. You know, that was the start of the day, and it's Ticket Tuesday, so JD's out there along with Jeff. Hey, JD, how's it going out there? You and Pick staying out of trouble?
We are staying out of trouble. We are having a good time out. How we doing, guys? Say hello to Reds country out here. Got a couple sections out here. Part of Ticket Tuesday. Gave him some savings on some tickets tonight. A little Reds live night. We're out here at a meet and greet before the game show and sitting out here enjoying some baseball. Doesn't get any better than this.
Hey, you've had a lot of guests on So You Think You're a Reds fan.
Yes.
I mean, have you had anybody that did a slam dunk the way Welsh did tonight?
None. He was perfect. He was 4 for 4. And the best part was him wearing his old Reds jersey, number 45. And still fitting into it.
That was before steroids.
And I think this might have been one of the high points for you. You had the crafty left-hander and George Wendt on the same show.
I know, and Norm from Cheers held up my face kebab, and as I said on the show, I can now retire. This is my last broadcast tonight.
I know you've already asked the guys in the truck for copies of that for your resume tape, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Resume tape, that's going to be a screensaver.
It might be.
Uh-oh, you gave him an idea.
Yeah, really.
That's trouble.
Well, we're sitting out here in the section. We're going to go greet the other section here coming up and just hanging out.
What is going on out there? Ticket Tuesday, are you guys trying to sell the most tickets or get the most people involved?
No, we just had a couple of sections. You know, they could choose 103 or 104, and then $12 a ticket. And for seats out here in the lower level, you can't beat that. So we're just meeting the Reds fans. This is the backbone of Reds country, these people out here.
Nice of you to buy refreshments and food for everybody out there, too.
Well, actually, who gave me the cotton candy? Was that you? Oh, he gave me the cotton candy right there. Yeah, I'm welching cotton candy off the kids.
And Pick stole it from you.
Pick did steal some. Pick says he's on a diet. Obviously, I'm not.
Pick's got a pick on Kentucky for tomorrow?
Yes. Kentucky by 2 touchdowns, he says, George.
Big day of college football. Kentucky Louisville tomorrow, Pick. Pressure's on.
It's a big one.
Well, have fun out there and don't get in any trouble, okay, JD?
No problem, George. You guys enjoy.
Patara skies this one into center field. In comes Heisey. He'll glove it. It's a 1-2-3 for Bronson Arroyo. He needed that one, taking care of 6, 7, and 8 in the order. Heisey up when we return. Today, Fan Appreciation Day on Sunday. 3 homers for the Brew Crew. They lead it 4-1. Here's Chris Heisey, fly to left first time up. Cairo and Ramon Hernandez will follow. Well, he's ending strong. Chris Heisey's been outstanding since coming back off the disabled list, trying to put a vote in for himself for 2012. And Chris, I think you'd have to say right now, if you were to show up for spring training, that you got to find a place for him in the lineup somewhere.
Well, I think a lot of people said that in spring training. Had a very good spring. He impressed a lot of people in and out of the organization. I mean, you hear scouts from other organizations talk about Chris Heisey in terms like he'd be playing every day for us. But what he hasn't done so far is that when he has had some regular playing time, begun to put it together in a streak. But he's had such a good year from a power standpoint. I mean, if you start to extrapolate the numbers of home runs versus the at-bats that he's had and take that out over a full year, those are the kind of numbers that get you really excited.
And he's playing with a sense of urgency. Talking to him before the game today, he said, you can't make up for time lost, but I want to make up for the opportunities that I was not able to fulfill because of the injury. That's a fastball that he thinks is a little bit low and inside, but it clips the inside corner, and that's a strikeout number 3 for Randy Wolf.
Well, you do a couple of things when you get injured like that. Remember, he had a rib cage injury that kept him out for a while, strained oblique. Number one, you get you out of the lineup, and it gets you out of whatever sink and whatever kind of a feel that you have for the pace of the game. And then the other thing it does is it opens a door for somebody else to get an audition.
Yep.
And now all of a sudden you're taking a look at Dave Chappelle at the big league level, which they would not have done anywhere near as much had Heisey stayed healthy.
Here's Cairo, robbed of a base hit on a nice defensive play by Ricky Weeks at second. Robbed the Reds of a run as well with a nice play that ended the first inning. I mean, coming into 2011, you knew the Reds had an overabundance of outstanding young outfielders, and heading into the offseason, you can put an exclamation point next to that. So you would almost believe that if the Reds would get better in the offseason, that there might be a deal involving one or more of those young players.
Well, the other thing, though, you wonder is the fact that now the Reds have committed to making Yonder Alonso an outfielder. And they said, all right, your experiment at third base is maybe not going to work, but we experimented with you in left field at first, and then it didn't work out. We're going to sit you on the bench. And now they're going to say, you know what, you're going to go down there to Miami, lose some weight, work on being an outfielder all year long. He works with John Jay, the outfielder, very fine outfielder from the St. Louis Cardinals in the wintertime. And he's going to learn a lot about it. And I'll tell you what, that young man is driven. So at the very worst the Reds could have next year is a platoon situation of Chris Heisey in left as a right-handed hitter and Yonder Alonso as a lefty. And I think you could do a whole lot worse than that.
And number 23 very clearly is driven to get better. You know offensively what he's shown you, and he wants to be able to improve defensively. And I think you're right. If you were to end the season right now and say what's your team, at the very least it would be a platoon of Alonso and Heisey in left.
I mean, do you think that the Chicago Cubs would trade Yonder Alonso and Chris Heisey for Alfonso Soriano? Absolutely. I mean, I think Alonso right now plays as well in the outfield as Soriano does. And they're paying that guy a whole boatload of money. And I got to think that the Reds could be pretty well served if they went in that direction. What you don't have, though, is a proven run producer out there. You just have guys that have shown glimpses over a small sample size that they can get it done.
Kotze grabs the fly ball from Cairo, 2 away, and here comes Ramon Hernandez, who flied out first time up. Time for our trivia question for tonight. Tonight's trivia question from Great American Ballpark, sponsored by AT&T. We talked about it earlier. When was the last time 2 players from the same team finished first and second in the National League Most Valuable Player voting? This year, with Fielder and Braun certainly at the top of a list of 4 or 5 players, there's a good chance they might finish 1 or 2. All right, let's poll the booth. Jesse, what's your guess? Big Red Machine era. Bench and Morgan. Joel Luckup, what's your guess? He says 1990. Chris, what's your guess?
I thought you already talked about it. Oh, no, you mentioned back in 1979.
Yeah, we were just saying, yeah, 79 was, you know, the tie in the MVP voting.
George, I've guessed enough. I was on the pregame show, and I'm not doing any more guessing. Sorry.
Jesse's bailing out on us. He gave his best stuff to JD and Pick. You would think you'd go first to the Big Red Machine era. when you could pick any two guys in any given year, bench and Morgan, Perez, Rose. George Foster, 75 and 76 during that Big Red Machine era. That slap foul by Ramon, who flied out to center first time up. Yeah, you talk about this equation. Devin Mesoraco is impressed at the minor league level with Rick Sweet down at AAA, and he's impressed since he came up here. Does this leave Ramon as the odd man out? Do you expect him back next year?
Well, if you look at it from Ramon's standpoint, you know, he likes it in Cincinnati. He's had a good run here. He's kind of rejuvenated his career. But at the same time, that if he goes on the free agent market, even though he's, what, 36 years old, 35, will be 36 next year when the season comes around, that he may be one of the top 2 or 3 catchers on the free agent market. So even though he's getting up there in age, he can still get some money out of the deal by being a free agent, going to a team that really needs a catcher. Reds are in one of those rare situations where they've got more catchers than spots.
There's Devin, who's been outstanding since coming up. Ramon bangs one off his leg and trying to limp himself back into the batter's box.
Boy, like you don't get hurt enough as a catcher. You get beat up on yourself as a hitter too.
Ooh, right off the shin, right below the knee.
You ever have a car door slam on your shin? Oh, it's about what it feels like.
How many times did you do that with your 9-iron after you hit one into the woods?
I didn't mean to hit it in the woods. I didn't mean to hit my shin either.
That's why so many guys will wear that guard on their front foot. Well, he nailed himself with that one.
Yeah, the worst part about it is that he's going to have to be up and down another 150 times before the end of the night's over. Feels really good right now. Still good, still good. Ooh, not so good now.
Yeah, you mentioned the off season and the possibility of the free agent market, and that might have gotten more interesting this week. I saw where the Pirates picked up Matt Pagnazzi, who was released, and obviously they have 2 catchers, both of whom might be free agents at the end of this year, Snyder and Doman. So they may very well be part of the mix this offseason as well. When a couple of years ago you thought each one of them would be either in Arizona where Chris was or in Pittsburgh where Ryan was. An interesting dynamic behind the plate for a lot of players this offseason.
You know, you always say that there's room for left-handed pitching out there. There's even more room if you're a catcher.
And especially a left-handed hitting catcher.
Yeah.
Full count 3-2. He's going to stay in there. Backhanded by the shortstop Betancourt, and that'll take care of Ramon. He hobbles down the first base line, still trying to shake off the effects of that foul ball. Reds go 1-2-3. They trail it 4-1. and Andy Gallimore from Mainville, Ohio, currently owns a Toyota Highlander, will win this beautiful new Tundra on display at Great American Ballpark. Register for your chance to win at an upcoming game by seeing your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers. Before the game today, Dusty Baker was there to spin the wheel as the local police and sheriff's departments in the area were in the running for the Toyota for this year, and the winner was Warren County, the sheriff's department. And Dusty gets a handshake and a high five from the representatives from Warren County. Congratulations. Yeah, the best part of that was before the game, give him credit, down in the clubhouse, they had the wheel all set up. Mike Leake went down there, and instead of Warren County, he put Mike Leake on it. And they went to bring it out, and he would have won.
You know what, though, in all seriousness, what a great gesture by all the area Toyota dealers that have all come together to do that, to be able to donate that, you know, because there's in the event of a Reds player hitting the right sign there between the power stacks, that's all covered by insurance.
Yep.
But for them to give it away, there's no insurance involved. Every one of those dealers had to dig deep into their pockets to be able to do that. What a super gesture on their part to give it to a law enforcement agency here in the greater Cincinnati area. Congratulations to Warren County. All the other police departments that were represented did receive a check of some cash. So it was really a great gesture overall, and way to go. That's the way to take care of our area law enforcement.
Great idea from Phil Castellini and the Reds, and great support from the Toyota dealerships to combine to present that to Warren County. Last year it was the firefighters, this year the police, next year it'll be for Jesse Jackson. Right, Jesse? I'm still driving a 1986 Toyota Land Cruiser. Does that qualify me for anything?
I got a question for you, George. Would you rather win that Toyota Tundra or win the contents of Jesse Jackson's trunk?
I'll take the trunk. I'll take the trunk. Wolf skies this one into short center field. Back is Giannis. She's got it. For those of you that haven't seen the Jesse Jackson trunk, just think of one of those big semis driving down I-75, the double ones. That's his trunk. When was the last time two players from the same team finished first and second in the National League Most Valuable Player voting? And the answer, 2000. Jeff Kent and Barry Bonds from San Francisco. How about that? Barry, of course, almost every year was there, and in that year Jeff Kent, who had a brilliant year, the all-time home run hitter as a second baseman. And you know, we were in the right area when we talked about the 70s for the Reds in the Big Red Machine era. Joe Morgan and George Foster in 1976 finished first and second. Cairo has it in the dirt, but scooped by Votto. 2 away.
An interesting follow-up to that, Jordan. Now, this is the MVP in 1976 when the Reds first and second finished Morgan and Foster. But going back to Jeff Kent and Barry Bonds in 2000.
Yep.
Coincidentally enough, that was when Dusty Baker also won the Manager of the Year award. So sometimes those things go hand in hand.
He's been Manager of the Year in Chicago and here in Cincinnati as well for the Sporting News, not for the baseball writers. Here's Mark. Kotsay drilled a homer, a 2-run shot after a walk to Morgan, and this one drilled into the corner. It's one hop to the wall, and he'll have a double to go along with the home run. His 11th double of the season. So Kotsay's 2 for 3. Boy, has he been valuable. Now, the two veterans in this lineup on this club, Kotsay and Counsell, have been instrumental in this Brewer team this year, and here's another good swing from Kotsay.
Well, he's in there because Bronson Arroyo struggles with left-handed hitters so mightily, and he just is very patient. He knows he doesn't have to cheat on the fastball. He's waiting a long time, seeing the ball big right now.
6 of the 9 in this lineup swing from the left side.
Yeah, and it's just part of the lineup right here. 2, 3, 4, and 5 that have, or 2, 3, and 4 anyway, that have really done all the damage in this ball game.
And ironically, he's handled Braun and Fielder through his career pretty well. I mean, Braun came in at 257, Fielder at 225, and Weeks only at 182. But on this night, Kotsay is homered, Braun is homered, so is Prince. Kotze off second. Not great speed, but an outstanding base runner. The Cal State Fullerton product. Plays every aspect of the game the right way, and you see him checking every outfielder behind him, checking the infielders. Just a heady ball player. One ball, one strike. Uncommon bat speed for this guy, huh, Chris?
Well, yeah. I mean, you look at him, you don't think that he's going to be one of the best sluggers in the league, but he's able to get the bat on a fastball, inside, outside, up and down. Amazing hitter, just great hand-eye coordination. Very strong wrists and hands.
You and I were together in Milwaukee that day when Bruce Fleming came up. The first time he saw him, he said, hey, and he was just a rookie. He just came up in May, and we were there in June. He said, this guy reminds me of Eddie Matthews. Remember that?
Yeah.
And yeah. Boy, did Bruce hit the nail on the head. I mean, who would have thunk it back then that he'd put up numbers like Eddie Matthews through his first 4 years.
Hey, look how big his eyes are. No wonder he sees the ball so well.
And look at the turn of the head. So both eyes are facing the pitcher. An adjustment he's made. Another University of Miami product. He played third just like Yonder Alonso at Miami. Broken bat, saw it off. Can Giannis get it there in time? He will. A double by Kotze, nothing to show for it. Reds trailing. Giannis, after the good play, will lead it off. The real McCoy. Plus, get connected with Fox Sports Ohio Game Connect, the ultimate second screen experience. It's on foxsportsohio.com, presented by 1-800-SAFE-AUTO and safeauto.com. Here's Paul. Giannis, the shortstop. Bounced to third first time up. He'll be followed by Bronson Arroyo. That's fouled off. And it's 1 ball and 1 strike. Cardinals and Phillies are tied at 1. They're in the 5th inning in Philadelphia. Cubs won today. Boy, talk about a rough week after flying late into the night to get here. They had a night game last night that went extra innings and had to play a day game today. They beat Houston 4-3. Samardzija got the win. Talk about the race in the Central and in the American League getting curiouser and curiouser. Tampa Bay and Boston tied 3-3. While the Yankees are leading Toronto 3-1. They're in the 5th inning. Tampa Bay and Boston now in the 3rd. That's popped back and out of play. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Swing and a miss. Giannis retired for the first out of the 5th inning. That's strikeout number 4 for Randy Wolf. Tonight's Mega Million jackpot, $65 million, brought to you by the Ohio Lottery. Play it today. 65 big ones with a drawing coming up at 11 o'clock. Didn't win yet, did you, Jesse? You're still back at work, huh? Trying to bunt his way out as Bronson. He fouls it off. Is it true, Chris, that Jim Strickler is growing his beard until he wins the lottery? Looks pretty good, Strick. Man, I go away for a few weeks and look like Merlin Olsen. Looks good. Our good buddy, former Hall of Famer and a guy still in our memories, an outstanding football player and a great guy, Merlin Olsen. Strick, you getting ready for the trip to the Outer Banks, another one to Canada, huh? Royal fouls it off. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Hey, Reds fans, if you're in the restaurant industry, let JTM Food Group help you with great tasting products for your menu. Inspired solutions and better results. JTM.
Here's the 1-2. Got him back-to-back strikeouts, 2 away, and that's 5 now for Randy Wolf. Track it, Chris.
You know, the Reds had a crack at Wolf early on, and he just throws a high fastball out of there, just kind of like the same pitch he threw to Paul Giannis. But they had early on a chance in that first inning, and had that play not been made so nicely by Ricky Weeks on a ground ball by Cairo up the middle, who knows what would have come about for Wolf in this evening. But he now has his rhythm. He's throwing the ball well. He's kind of changing speeds. He knows what's working, what's not working, and he's cutting right through this lineup like he has done it so many times.
Here's Brandon up for the 3rd time. Reached on an infield hit last time up. He's 1 for 2. So he's gained a point on 300, now in at 297. Family in town for the final homestand of the season coming in today. Mom and Dad, always great to see them around the ballpark.
You know, he always seems like he hits better when his dad's in the ballpark, doesn't he?
Yep.
Of course, his dad was a hitting coach for a long time for Brandon. In fact, he still gives hitting lessons in an indoor facility down outside of Atlanta.
He got the swing from his dad and the smile from his mom, huh?
It's a good combo.
She's electric. No balls, 2 strikes to Brandon.
Looks like Brandon has done some work on that bat, doesn't he? I don't know whether he's kind of shaved off the coating or the very the lacquer around the handle area. Or he's up around George Brett territory right there, isn't he?
Some rosin on the stickum. Inside, a ball and 2 strikes.
Good pitch right there by Randy Wolf. He's ahead 0-2. He wants to come inside, but he doesn't want to wake the hitter up to the point where, hey, you're throwing at me. And even though Kataris has got his glove on the outer part of the plate, I got to think Wolf was going to throw that ball inside to Brandon Phillips all the way. Now maybe go back outside here.
Brandon's approach at the plate has evolved this year, and since coming back to the leadoff spot, Chris, he doesn't take the big step that he took earlier. He gives you a little bit of a lift with the front foot, and the way he did 2 years ago when he had maybe his best offensive year, he's reacting better to that 2-strike pitch.
Well, early in the count, he'll do what you just said. He'll give you a big hack and lift his leg, try to hit the ball out of the ballpark. But when he gets 2 strikes on him, he spreads his stance a little bit, gets a little bit lower, as you say, George. And I think he thinks smaller in his approach rather than just his swing.
This one will kick foul, and it stays at 2-2. Dusty one win away from his 1,480th victory. That would tie him with Earl Weaver on the all-time list. That's pretty good company.
Without nearly as many as ejections.
Yeah. He argues quietly. I mean, he's 22nd now. Weaver's 21st. Pretty good numbers. High in the air to center. Boy, it is a mile in the air. Nigel Morgan's under it. He'll squeeze it, and the Reds go quietly. 2 strikeouts and a fly ball. Fielder up when we return. Coast subs find a Penn Station location near the Reds fan zone and behind section 413. Enjoy all the baseball action while eating a Penn Station signature sub and authentic fresh cut fries. To see your Reds, call 513-381-REDS or visit reds.com. Four runs, 4 hits for Milwaukee. For the Brewers, after the Reds took a 1-0 lead on an RBI from Joey Votto, a single in the first. This guy ripped his 33rd homer to lead off the second to tie it at 1. Then a walk to Morgan and a homer by Kotsay in the third made it 3-1, and a homer by Braun made it 4-1. And there you're caught up to where we are right now. Okay, who signs first in the offseason? Prince Fielder or Albert Pujols? That's a question that a lot of general managers are mulling over right now.
Well, doesn't each guy want the other one to sign first?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So, set the market, and then I'll follow your coattails. And they made a big brouhaha of it this past week when they quoted Prince saying, "This is my last year in Milwaukee. I don't think I'll be back." I mean, that's not exactly a bulletin board thing. That's what everybody's been saying all year long.
Yeah, but it was to hear him say that coming out of his mouth, and it wasn't in an interview where he really wasn't even asked the question. The question that was posed to Prince Fielder was, you know, it's been remarkable what he and Ryan Braun have done this year as a duo. You know, wouldn't you like to see it continue, or something along those lines? And he said, well, it probably won't last too long because I won't be back here next year. And I think he caught a lot of people by surprise with that.
Well, they finally snuck one in under the arms for his first strikeout of the night.
That's a changeup right there. You don't see many inside changeups be called for strike 3. Had nice backward movement on it. And he finally figured out a way to get Prince Fielder out.
You know, Chris, just like last year, I mean, Scott Rowland and, you know, Cabrera, go down the list, veterans that provided leadership for the Reds, for a lot of young Reds. Helped the Reds on the field, but helped the Reds translate the pressure of a pennant race too. And that's why Mark Kotsay and Craig Counsell are on this ball club. But you still have to go through it. You make some mistakes. You say things maybe you wish you didn't say. Sometimes it can spur a team on. Sometimes it can knock a team off kilter a bit, especially a young team in a pennant race at this time of year. Here's Ricky. Flied out, popped up. 1-2. If the season were to end right now, Philadelphia would play Milwaukee. Philadelphia with the best record in the league, Arizona second, Milwaukee third, and Atlanta fourth. Team can't play an opponent from the same division in the first round, so Philadelphia would not play Atlanta. It'll be the Phillies and the Brewers, and Arizona against Atlanta. And the Cardinals hope that they can find a way to inch their way into this as well. Ooh. Bronson thought he had strike three.
Yeah, a lot of off-speed stuff to Ricky Weeks. The Reds have found out the hard way that this guy is a dead red fastball hitter. And he is just poised to jump on a fastball, preferably up in the zone. That looked like it touched the outside of the plate. You get a guy like Ricky Weeks who has so many fast twitch muscles. I mean, he's very quick. He's got as quick a bat as anybody in the league. He runs well. But sometimes those type of hitters have a hard time slowing things down and adjusting to the slow breaking ball. That's why you see one after another slow curveballs to Weeks. They tried to sneak a fastball by him. Didn't work.
Well, Bronson walked two in the third. One of them scored. And that's his third walk of the night. That'll bring up the third baseman, Taylor Green. And Weeks will exit. Logan Schaefer will come in and run for Ricky, so Ricky's night is done. Here's Taylor Green, who bounced out, popped up 0 for 2. Just as you talk about Ron Renicky as a bona fide candidate for manager of the year, you'd have to name Doug Melvin as the front running candidate for general manager of the year, and the job that he did in the offseason to prepare this team for the year, and then the Frankie Rodriguez deal that's helped to solidify the bullpen during the course of the season.
Yeah, the Brewers had such a great run in the month of August, but it kind of coincided with the same time that he went out and got K-Rod, Frankie Rodriguez, and that Saito became healthy. So those guys, veteran arms that know what they're doing out there, have had a very good run of it lately. They've helped the back end of their bullpen. They are solid. From the 6th inning on, this ball club is about as solid as any in baseball. That's why it was so important that the Reds, when they had Randy Wolf on the ropes early in the ball game, right in the 1st inning, they pushed more than one run across.
1 ball, 1 strike. Short lead for Schaefer. Down to first. Votto will go to second. They'll get 1, and that's all. Joey was in the process of coming off the bag, had to come back to the line. That took an extra step, and then didn't get a good first grip on it.
Well, you're right. Remember how big that first baseman's glove is, and all the infielders that turn the double plays, those gloves are about half the size of a first baseman glove. So you reach into that first baseman glove, and you don't always get the ball on your first try. But the key is to get the lead runner, make sure you get it out right there, and he does that. He has played some excellent defense this year.
I think you talk about both of these first basemen. Prince Fielder, who had only 4 errors last year, and his defense has gotten even more solid during the last 2 years at any time in his career. And Joey has been playing Outstanding defense at first as well for the Reds. Here's the 101st pitch of the night from Bronson. Had a lengthy third inning, Chris.
He has, you know, but it's a battle for Bronson. I mean, he knows that he's coming off a horrible outing against Colorado. Did not retire a batter in the second inning. Gave up 6 runs in 1 inning plus there. 3 home runs. He's already given up actually 3 home runs tonight. And he's just battling away right now. Doesn't matter how many pitches he uses. He's got all winter long to rest.
Strands the base runner. Second strikeout of the night. Reds trail 4-1. When we return, Sapelt to the plate. Sixth inning. Now it's time for the Coors Light freeze cam. In left field, Dave Sapelt with Randy Wolf at the plate comes up with a dandy catch to rob him of at least a single, maybe more. That was in the third inning for the second out. Coors Light freeze cam brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light. That third inning started harmlessly. Contreras flied out, and then Sapelt made that outstanding catch in left, but then Bronson walked Nyjer Morgan. Kotze homer to make it 3-1 Milwaukee, then Braun homer to make it 4-1. And that's the difference in the game. Weeks is out. Replacing him down at second is former Red Jerry Hairston Jr. This is his 36th appearance with the Brewers, and he started 26 games, both at second and in center field. Acquired from Washington just before the trading deadline, and is providing solid bench play for Ron Renicky. Very versatile player, Chris. When he was with the Reds, wherever you put him, he gave you energy.
Solid guy.
3-0. That's a strike to the left fielder. Sapelt doubled in the first, then scored on a base hit by Joey Votto. That's the Reds' lone run. High in the air to right. Kotze has it, one away.
Watch as Jim Day visits Cincinnati, USA's must-see attraction. Where in Cincinnati, USA is Jim Day? Well, tune in to Fox Sports Ohio and we'll tell you where he is. You just really never know where Jim Day will pop up or get kicked out of.
If there's food around, you can usually sense it'll be in the vicinity. JD on the case. There's Joey. Single to right in the first, single to right in the third, 2 for 2. A career .320 hitter coming in against Wolf, and a .332 career hitter against the Brewers. Both Joey and Jay Bruce near the .330 mark in their careers against Milwaukee. 1-2 to Votto. Didn't miss by much. It's 1 ball and 2 strikes. And
that gives you an insight as to how well Joey Votto is seeing the ball right now. I mean, that ball was only a fraction of an inch off the plate. He didn't even flinch. Didn't even think about swinging at that pitch.
Same spot did Wolf go back to. This time he gets him. That's 6 strikeouts for Randy Wolf. Leadership on a club comes from many angles, and we talked about Craig Counsell and Mark Kotze and what they provide, and put Randy Wolf on that list too. For some of the young pitchers, he's provided leadership on the field and in the clubhouse as well. It's a very comfortable 1-2-3 for Randy Wolf. Reds go quietly. Here we go to the 7th.
Reports Honor Roll for Best Children's Hospitals 2011 by your Cincinnati Northern Kentucky Honda dealers. Visit mycincinnatihondadealer.com for current offers. And by Wendy's. You know when it's real.
Yep, we are cold, but the Reds have been hot. Taking 3 or 4 from the Cubs, trying to play comeback baseball today. A little chilly at the ballpark tonight as the hint of fall is in the air the last couple of nights. Here's Bronson. Gave up a run on the homer to Fielder in the 2nd. And then the homers by Kotze and Braun in the 3rd. Fly ball hit pretty good to right. Gutierrez will pick up his 5th homer of the season. It just drops into the first row. George Gutierrez, his first hit of the night, and the 4th home run given up by Bronson tonight.
You know, you can just see how comfortable most of the left-handers in this lineup are in facing Bronson Arroyo. He really kind of limits himself to the outer part of the plate. He hasn't come inside, doesn't really come underneath their elbows enough. I mean, he doesn't throw hard enough to intimidate, and it's very difficult to intimidate a big league hitter. But from time to time, you've got to come in off the dish, up underneath the elbows to get that guy, at least his eye level, off that outside corner. You just can't continue to go to the same spot because your margin of error is so small that if you get a little bit too much of the plate with any one pitch, chances are they're going to get good wood on it, and 4 times tonight they've done that.
Former pitching coach here, and for many years a fine pitching coach in the major leagues, Dick Polo used to say, make them move their feet.
Well, that's what Hoyt Wilhelm used to say. He said it long before Dick Pole ever took the pitching mound. And, you know, he used to tell us as rookies in rookie ball, that would be something that you get ahead of a hitter 0-2, and you don't want to wake the guy up throwing at his head, and now all of a sudden he's got big-time resolve to try to come back and get you, but make him move his feet. But I think what Dick Pole's saying is that you've got to mix it up a little bit. You've got to come inside like that with something with a pitch on it, and then go back outside, or even double up and come back inside. But it's so difficult to try to hit one spot on that strike zone time after time after time. These are big league hitters, and they're going to feel real comfortable eventually knowing that you're never going to come inside. They're going to stand up there feeling like they're in scoring position.
Good swing from Contreras. And he picks up home run number 5 on the season for him. I got to believe he'll take a stop down tomorrow to see Gus at Pitsaki. That's the Greek center of the baseball world. Pick up a new hat. Talk a little baseball. Your visit to Cincinnati isn't complete unless you see Gus.
Well, maybe you ought to see Fausto first.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to get a haircut, I mean, if you're going to buy a hat, you want to make sure that the hat fits before and after, you know, the haircut. So you see Fausto first, have him play the accordion a little bit, cut your hair like he did for you. Look like he got you today, George. If not today, maybe tomorrow, huh?
Fausto will be in his glory tomorrow. It's Oktoberfest in downtown Cincinnati, so there'll be a lot of folks walking down Garfield Place. There's a bouncer down to Phillips, takes the tricky hop and takes care of Wolf. There's your second out of the inning. Papa John's, better ingredients, better pizza. Order online at papajohns.com today. Out comes Dusty. Horst has been in the bullpen loosening, and Bronson sitting at 114 pitches. Dusty's saying that'll be it. Horst will be on his way in. Bronson will be on his way out. So after 114 deliveries on this night, Bronson's night is done. While the pitching change takes place, we'll take time out for these messages. You're watching Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio. Here's our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen.
so what? I'm on a guaranteed contract. I'm going to get my money whether I pitch well or not. This bothers him, and it bothers him a whole lot that he's not performing the way he did last year. He's having his worst year since 2000. That was his first year in the major leagues, and this guy's driven. I mean, he has told me that he is going to spend all winter long working out, strengthening up, trying to get that fastball back. He showed glimpses of it here in the last few weeks, and he's pitching pretty good ball. But you know, this is the kind of thing that eats at you. And if you're a starting pitcher that's been around and has the kind of pride that Bronson Arroyo has, you're going to work all winter long to try to get that back and show the Reds that they did not make a bad decision by extending him.
I remember when the Reds traded for him, and here's Jeremy Horst, who takes over his 11th appearance of the season. And I called the pitching coach of the Red Sox, Dave Wallace, and asked him about him, and he just said he is the best quiet competitor that I've ever had. And that's Bronson. He quietly goes about his work. He quietly dedicates himself to getting better. And you're right, Chris. I don't think there's any doubt that no one will work harder this offseason. And I think the breather that he'll need too after whatever it was, whether it was mononucleosis or valley fever or whatever, and the injuries he sustained, certainly just a breather for a month or so will help. Votto takes care of that. Horst gets the second out of the inning. There's 2 away here in the 7th. People say, what's the difference? I mean, 2 to 3 miles an hour difference on a fastball is a big difference where he's pitching. If it's 97 to 94, that's one thing, but if it's 91 to 87, that's a whole nother story.
Well, you're right, and the difference I think there from a hitter standpoint is that when you're over 90 miles an hour, 90, 91, 92, even if you can just do it every once in a while, a hitter sometimes has to cheat to catch up to the fastball. He's got to look fastball to get it, and then he'd never be able to adjust to that real slow curveball. But when your fastball is at 86, 87, maybe 88 tops, the hitter does not have to cheat at all. He can just wait back, knowing that he'll never get beat on the fastball, and he'll be more prepared to hit the breaking ball. That's what's happened for Bronson this year.
So with 6 left-handed bats in the lineup, Dusty brings in the first of what will probably be a couple of left-handers out of the bullpen. Kotze 2 for 3, a homer and a double. Yeah, he's missing 2 and 2. Jeremy will be one of the Reds players who will go with AAA manager Rick Sweet down to the Dominican. This one looped towards right. Back goes Phillips, and he got it. Brandon Phillips, ole. Special, isn't he? Number 4 does one of these about every night. Brilliant. Previews the Buckeyes and Hurricanes, and it's Colorado versus Colorado State at 1:30. Wrap up the night with number 8 Oklahoma State in Tulsa following Reds Live. College Football Saturday presented by Coors Light starting at 11 a.m. on Fox Sports Ohio. Cincinnati and Akron tomorrow. Kentucky and Louisville. Ohio State, Miami, Florida, and John Browdy's getting his scouting report on Syracuse, USC. We got a that's a Browdy versus Grande. Thankfully, we're not playing lacrosse. We wouldn't have a chance. What do you think, Howdy Browdy? Pizza bet? It's a pizza. Carlos Gomez into the game. Chris Heisey to the plate. Heisey 0 for 2, flied out and struck out. Niger Morgan moves to right. Gomez in, and Morgan slides over to right for Katse. Fielder, Harrison, Betancourt, McGee at third now. And Braun in left, Gomez in center, Morgan over and right. Katara still behind the plate. Heisey skies out, and there's one away here in the 7th. 10 in a row, making 11 in a row now for Randy Wolf. I mean, he is just dealing out there, making a lot of easy outs. Picking up just about a strikeout every inning. You go back in time, Chris, it seems like we've seen this story before, whether he was in a Philadelphia uniform, a Dodger uniform, or a Milwaukee uniform. Now, he has one inning where if you get him, you're going to get him. If not, he'll lull you to sleep, and Randy Wolf, the competitor that he is, finds a way to get you out the rest of the night. I mean, he's one of these guys that when you chart him, and you see the difference in speeds from his fastest pitch to his slowest pitch. I mean, his fastest pitch is up around 88 to 90. Not really much more than that. He averages actually about 88.5 miles an hour on his fastball. But his slowest pitch tonight has been 64 miles an hour, that big roundhouse curveball. So it really makes it tough for a hitter to adjust. I mean, he's jamming these guys with little cutters at 82 miles an hour, just like he did right there to Miguel Cairo. So you ask yourself, all right, well, didn't you say that Bronson Arroyo needs to throw 90 miles an hour, and here's Randy Wolf only throwing 88? I think the difference there is that Wolf, if you watch him, is using the entire part of the strike zone much more. He's pitching inside more. He's pitching down and into right-handers with that cutter. He's actually had more difficulty with Joey Votto than anybody else. Cairo is disposed of for the 7th strikeout of the night for Randy Wolf. And it must be a little bit about deception, too. He's got what scouts would call a fast arm. He gets his arm up behind his left ear very quickly, hides the ball well, and that 87, 88 mile an hour fastball really gets on you. I mean, he'll pitch inside. He's never been one to hit a lot of batters. He'll hit maybe half a dozen a year, and that's regarded as normal, not in the teens. Here's Ramon. He flied to center, bounced to short, still in there after banging a ball off his left shin and hobbling around for the better part of an inning or two. Strike one. Sky to the infield. Here's McGee. He's under it. He's got it. And another 1, 2, 3. That's 4 straight 1, 2, 3 innings. 33 for Prince Fielder. That tied the game in one in the second inning. A bullet shot to the moon deck. Fielder started the home run parade, your Coors Light cold hard blast. That was in the second. Then in the third, Kotze a 2-run shot. Braun his 29th home run. And add one for good measure by George Kataris, his 5th of the year in the 7th. 5 home runs. And this is Oktoberfest. Joe Morgan will be leading the chicken dance downtown by Fountain Square tomorrow. Joe in town, of course, to honor the greatest catcher ever to play the game, Johnny Bench, who will have a statue unveiled in his honor before the game tomorrow. And of course, if you haven't heard, you can join us beginning at 6 o'clock for all the ceremonies.
Isn't that kind of appropriate, though, that Joe Morgan would lead the chicken dance?
Yeah.
He had that little stance, you know, where he put his left elbow up and he'd slap his side with it. Kind of looked like a chicken wing. Perfect. Whoever thought of that was brilliant.
The people at Oktoberfest. Nellie Fox, it was his idea back when he was at Houston, and it sure paid off. That'll be a special night tomorrow night to honor Johnny Bench. I mean, anytime he comes to the park, it's an honor to see him back again, and he's been so instrumental in Reds history and instrumental even to this day. He's been a advisor to Bob Castellini and the whole Reds baseball operation, Walt Jocketty and the staff. To have a Johnny Bench on your side makes you a better organization. Here's Braun to lead it off in the 8th. Flied out, homered, grounded out. Oh, this hit deep to right, back, and forget that one too. First fielder, then Kotze, then Braun, then Kataris, and here's Braun again. A 2-home run game for the Silver Slugger from left field, who's destined for another Silver Slugger award this year.
Well, you're not kidding about that. The first one was a slider off of Bronson Arroyo going the other way. That way he's thinking, you know what, I'm going to go the other way here again. Boy, he makes this ballpark look very small.
Dusty trying to tie Earl Weaver for all-time wins. Watches Braun become a 30-30 guy again this year, Chris. Some kind of player. And for Great American Ballpark, closing in on 200 home runs. The home runs tonight have passed Camden Yards, and here's Prince lining it to center. That'll drop in front of Heisey for a base hit. So Braun has 2 hits, 2 homers. Fielder has a homer and a single.
Here's the list again, George, but you can see that Great American Ballpark is the only National League team represented on there. Everything else is American League, and you know, that's the difference of the designated hitter, I think, between Great American Ballpark and the Rangers ballpark.
And remember when they called Philadelphia a home run ballpark? Look at the pitching staff they have.
Right.
That changed fast.
Well, I mean, when you're counting home runs, you're talking about your home runs and the ones you're giving up.
Yep. Great deal of respect between those two players, Joey Votto and Prince Fielder. Still no one out here in the 8th, and here's Casey McGee up for the first time tonight. Of all those that have overachieved this year, these numbers for Casey certainly not where Doug Melvin and Ron Renicky hoped they would be. That's kind of opened the door for a parade of players down at third. He's got over 500 at bats, but the home runs numbers are down. 12 and the 66 runs batted in.
Yeah, but has he been around long enough to say that the numbers that he hit last year, 23 home runs, drove in 104, are, I'm not talking about fielder, I'm talking about McGee, whether those are numbers that he can go to every year, or was it just a blip last year that gave everybody a little higher expectation than they should have?
First out of the 8th inning. And that'll bring up Jerry Hairston Jr. for his first at bat. Not a bad uniform to trade, huh? Get into the pennant race after being in Washington for the first 3 months of the season.
Yeah, didn't he do that with the Yankees a couple of years ago?
Yep.
I'll tell you, he's a winning style player. He knows the game very well. He's got a sense of baseball, where to be at the right time. He takes a lot of time to prepare himself for every game. You ask a lot of guys up and down the lineup, what does this guy pitch? And a lot of players, you'd be surprised, say, well, I'm not really sure, but he eventually has to use his fastball, right? Well, Jerry Hairston does enough of the scouting report that he knows not only what the starting pitcher throws, but he knows what the bullpen guys throw, so that in the event he comes into the ball game later on, he doesn't need to go to the coach and say, what's this guy got? I mean, he's a real heady player.
Baseball family. Sam Hairston, Jerry Hairston Sr., who was a very intelligent player in his years. And, of course, his brother Scott, still a major leaguer today. Two balls, one strike. He's managed to get 14 seasons of Major League Baseball. That's a darn good career. Down to third. Phillips will turn it. That'll take care of it. 5-4-3 twin killing. Bottom of 8 we go. Reds running out of time. They trail at 6-1. Dog, because every night, Chris, you see something like this.
You know, I want to highlight film at the end of the year. I said this, I think, in the opening weekend when the Reds hosted the Milwaukee Brewers, took it to the Brewers there, and he made a couple of great plays in that series. I said, I want to highlight reel of Brandon Phillips this year. I had no idea it was going to be 3 hours long.
Brandon just keeps getting it done. Our John Morrell hot dog play of the night. Paul Janisch will start the 8th with a blue pit over the effort of Jerry Hairston Jr. So Janisch is on. Paul will take this after 0 for 2. Here's his first hit of the night. Horst's night is done because here comes Frazier to pinch hit. Horst went 1 2/3 innings and allowed 2 hits and a home run. Frazier steps in, 214 since coming up from AAA. 4 doubles, no triples. And in 34 games, 6 round trippers. First appearance for Todd against Milwaukee. That's a line shot in the left. Well, back-to-back hits for the Reds here in the 8th, and that gets action up in the bullpen for Milwaukee.
You know, that shows me is that Todd Frazier was paying attention to this ball game, and he's watching Randy Wolf all game long, knowing that somewhere in this at bat he's going to get that slow curveball. I mean, he waited on that ball, was weighted back like he knew it was coming on a 0-2 count, and lashed into the left field.
I think, Chris, you can say that about all these players that have come up. Frazier, Valleca, Alonso, Mesoraco. I mean, the list of players that have come up from AAA, Dave Sapeltu, and of course Zach Cozart. They play the game the right way, and they follow the game. They're guys who figure to be major leaguers, not just somebody up for a cup of coffee here in this 2011 season.
Well, that says something about the Reds minor league managers, too. I mean, we've talked a lot this year about Rick Sweet. A lot of these guys have played for Sweet this year, coming up out of Louisville. But the Reds also have among their midst right now David Bell, the manager down in AA. He's up for the weekend right here, at least up for the homestand. Work with the guys to watch what it is, watch some of these young players that played for him who are now in the big leagues.
Long bus rides down there.
It is, but you know, that's where your charge is as a manager, to do more than just win ball games. I mean, you've got to teach these guys how to prepare to play a game, how to prepare to win a ball game, and what the difference is between being a winning player and just a guy that goes out there and plays. I think the Reds have done a pretty good job doing that. I mean, they've got a host of players now that are right at the very top of the minor league ladder, ready to make the jump into the major leagues. For so many years, George, and you and I broadcast for 17 years, how often do we hear year after year after year that the Reds' best prospects are in A-ball?
Yeah.
Well, 3 years beyond that, we hear it again. Best prospects are in A-ball. So, well, what happened to all the best prospects 3 years ago that were in A-ball? But now they're all coming up out of AAA.
Line shot in the right. That's a base hit. Morgan coming up throwing. They'll hold the runner. Bases are loaded.
I'll tell you what, when Brandon Phillips does that, and that is the biggest difference for Brandon Phillips now, that he'll use all parts of the field. If he starts slashing a ball like that, you can't play defense on it, because he'll just as likely hit a ball down the third base line as take this ball the other way.
And watch the end of this play. Fielder's the cutoff man. He doesn't go deep. He's right by the bag, and Phillips is looking out at the right field area. Fielder picks the ball off, and he almost beats Phillips to the bag. So Brandon's there, second hit. Out comes Renicky to talk to Wolf, and this will be Wolf's night. 7+ innings. He's allowed the Reds a run. All 3 runners are his responsibility. And there'll be time for a new pitcher to come in from Milwaukee. You're watching Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio. information on how to book your next event at Great American Ballpark, call 513-765-7065. Great place to be year-round. Randy Wolf's night is done. He allows 7 hits and 1 run. All 3 runners his responsibility. And one of the big responsibilities of the general manager of the Brewers, Doug Melvin, was to make his bullpen better. And the guy he brought in to do that is coming in right now. K-Rod, Francisco Rodriguez, Chris.
Well, 68 appearances. That, of course, includes his time in New York this year. He was traded over here to the Brewers about the middle of July. In fact, that in that trade was Daniel Ray Herrera. And he has really helped this bullpen.
And pinch hitting for the Reds will be Yonder Alonso. Alonso in for Dave Chappelle. A big moment for the Reds. One swing can get them back in this ball game. They trail at 6-1.
Well, he's got a really good couple of off-speed pitches. K-Rod does. He's got a good curveball. You saw a little breaking ball right there. He also has a nice changeup that he kind of jumps at you and really gives it. He really sells it as a fastball.
First time Alonso facing K-Rod, and he's ahead in the count 2-0. We talk about the young Reds hitters. No one's been more impressive than number 23. He studies the game before the game. He'll study pitchers. You watch him on the bench, and he's intently watching the opposition. He's got an aptitude at the plate that is uncommon for his years. 2-0. High in the air to left. Here comes Braun, tagging at third, but not able to score, is Paul Janisch.
Well, he got beat on a fastball after seeing a breaking ball and then one in the dirt. He really wasn't able to gauge how fast Francisco Rodriguez's fastball was. So he threw it in there, and Yonder found himself very late.
Alonso skies out. That's the first out of the inning, and here comes Joey. That gets the 32,000 plus on their feet. Bravado with the bases loaded. He has 1 grand slam to his career, and you know his story with runners in scoring position. He's been the best in the league. Nearly 400. That fastball is up and away. Joey tonight singled in the Reds' run in the first inning, a single to right. Single to right again in the third, and then struck out in the 6th. Singles by Janisch, Frazier, and Phillips have loaded the bases for the Reds. That's a little low.
Well, you just look at Joey Votto's eyes. Watch his face during an at-bat. I mean, the look, the resolve, the look of determination in there. I mean, he is not about to give 1 inch to that pitcher.
Rodriguez behind again, 2-0. This time to Votto, though. Can't get much better than what Joey is with runners in scoring position. Nearly more than 40 points better than the number 2 guy in the league.
You think it's lucky to hit with runners in scoring position? Look at the names on that leaderboard.
Yeah.
Those are the best players in the league. Those are the guys that are able to slow the game down when they need it the most.
2-1. Line drive. He did it again. 1 run scores. Here comes Frazier around third. The throw will be wide. Frazier will score, and Phillips will have to hold at second. He was turning the wheels looking at third, but Rodriguez was there to cut the ball off before it bounded away from the catcher. So Joey delivers again. Now 98 runs batted in on the season for the MVP from last year.
This guy is just so good.
Gomez throw wide. Phillips holds at second. So the Reds are within 3. It's a 6-3 ball game. There's still 2 on and only 1 out. Here's Jay. Bruce hit by a pitch, bounced out, flied out. Hit down to short. They'll get one, and for the second time tonight, Bruce is hit into a double play that ends an inning. The Reds threaten score 2 and still trail at 6-3. With 2 homers on this day. The first one gave the Brewers a 4-1 lead in the 3rd. The second one in the 8th inning ballooned the lead to 6-1. Ryan Braun, 2 homers, 30 on the year. He joins teammate Prince Fielder with over 30 homers. Fielder has 33, and it's a 30-30 year for Ryan Braun. Added up, 6 runs, 7 hits for Milwaukee, 3 runs, 8 hits for Cincinnati. Frazier stays in the game. He's in left field, so it's Frazier, Heisey, Bruce in the outfield. Cairo, Yanish, Phillips, Votto in the infield, and Hernandez still behind the plate. And it's good to see this guy back, Chris. Jared Burton back at the major leagues.
Well, he's had so many different physical problems along the way for Jared Burton. I mean, some that they have not been able to diagnose except for a long period of time taking a look at him, different disorders that he's had. This year it was a shoulder problem that sidelined him. Missed most of the year, and he finally was able to be pitching well enough to get recalled and then sent out to AAA. Made 11 appearances down there, and boy, one time he was on the fast track to be a closer. Now he's just fighting for his major league life.
Betancourt leads it off, and a fly ball down the right field line for out number 1 for Jared. Burton gets the first out of the 9th inning. As you look ahead, Heisey, Cairo, Hernandez due up 5, 6, and 7 for the Reds when we head to the bottom of 9. Here's Gutierrez, who's had a productive night. His 5th homer of the year made it 5-1 Milwaukee in the 7th inning. Only his 28th start of the season. Most of the starts behind the plate go to Jonathan Lucroy, who's started the majority of games. 106 for the Brew Crew. You mentioned, Chris, a guy who was on the fast track to be a closer, and you can say that about Jared Burton. You could say it about Nick Massett. can say it about Aroldis Chapman, but at this stage, the last 2 weeks of the season, as you look to 2012, there really is no heir apparent as the closer for the Reds. So you wonder, might Cordero be back again next year as the closer?
Well, like Brandon Phillips, the Reds have an option that they can exercise on Francisco Cordero, although in all likelihood the price tag is too much. But they may just go back to him and say, all right, we like what you've done. You've been very, very good this year, and why don't we work out something to bring you back instead of for 1 year but for 2 years, and maybe a little less per year than what you would make on the option. But you know what you have here, you like your teammates, and it might be a deal that can be worked out, and I think he's amenable to it, and hopefully that'll get done, because right now the Reds don't seem to have somebody knocking at the door saying, Cordero, you're out, I'm going to be the closer of the future.
323 saves and counting. Here's Lucroy, who will pinch hit in the 9th spot in the order. Early on in the month of April, folks wondered, would it ever come together for the Brewers? That's a ground ball, backhanded nicely by Cairo. They'll get one, and that's all. They'll get the force at second. Greinke was on the disabled list. Lucroy was on the disabled list. They really hadn't come into their own. Corey Hart was on the disabled list. Nice backhand by Cairo for the force, and that's all they'll get. So the key for Ron Renicky was find a way to get through the early 4 to 6 weeks of the season. They did, and they're heading towards a postseason appearance after a big, strong middle of the season when they got everybody healthy. Here's Morgan. Niger tonight. Popped up, walked, grounded out, grounded out. It's 2-1. Cardinals still leading the Phils. It's 2-1. They're now in the 8th inning in Philadelphia. Over in that American League chase, Toronto's bounced back to tie the Yankees 4-4 in the 7th, and the Red Sox clinging to a 4-3 lead over Tampa Bay, also in the 7th at Fenway Park. That's up high, and it's 3-1. Wide, and back-to-back walks from Burton, and that'll get Brian Price hopping out of the dugout. After a quick first out, he's walked back-to-back batters. After the second out, he's walked 2 of the next 3, and there are 2 on, and that'll bring up Carlos Gomez as Brian Price delivers his sermon out on the mound tonight. Wood still loosening for the Reds down in the bullpen. Travis, one of 5 lefties that the Reds have available for Dusty Baker after the expanded roster. Wood, Bray, Chapman, Maloney, and Horst, who's already been used. Big swing from Carlos for strike 1. September call-ups mean a lot of things to a lot of players. For number 51, Chris, just important for him to feel good about being back up here again.
Anybody who has spent time in the minor leagues and you get a call-up and you get a chance to play in the big leagues, this is why you're in the minor leagues all year long. This is why Jared Burton spent hours and hours and days in the rehab room, you know, trying to get his shoulder strong enough. And now he's on the main stage. You don't get many opportunities like this, and you've got to seize it when you have a chance.
2-2.
Good pitch.
Hopped up. Will anybody get some leather on it? Bruce does. Last round up for the Reds. They trail it 6-3. To the bottom of 9 we go. Chris Heisey will lead it off. Baseball. Stay tuned for Fox Sports Ohio for Reds Live post game. You'll hear from Dusty. You'll get the star of the game. JD will be down with his minions. That's Reds Live post game, brought to you by King's Honda and the King's Auto Mall. Visit King'sHondaUSA.com. Let's see if there'll be a smiling side of the scoreboard to report on for JD and Jeff Piccolo after the game. The Reds will have to come up with a rally in the 9th. Heisey will lead it off, and they'll have to do it against the closer for the Brewers, John Axford.
Well, the Reds got to John Axford in the very first game of the year. Opposite field home run by Ramon Hernandez sent the shocked Brewers home with their heads hanging down, but he has been awfully good since then. He has had 44 save opportunities and converted 42 of them. And who would have thought at the very beginning of the year, a guy that was somewhat unproven as far as a large sample size as a closer, that would be able to answer the bell so consistently all year long, and he has done just that for the Brewers.
So Axford will lead it off by facing Heisey, who's 1 for 4 against him. Cairo due up next. Heisey, 2-hopper down to short, bobbled, and Heisey will be on. Well, Betancourt has been about as good as he's ever been defensively in the last couple of weeks. Bobbles this one, and the Reds get the leadoff hitter on in the 9th.
Looks like an easy one right there. In fact, he even had a high bounce right there, but when he got to the ball, looks like he had his weight on his heels. And really didn't kind of feel that ball out in front of him. He waited until that ball was way down in between his legs before he put the glove on it, and that's really not the way they teach you. So bad fundamentals lead to an error and open the door for the Reds. Maybe get a little something going here.
Here's Cairo's 1 for 1 against Axford, 0 for 3 tonight. Bounced into a fielder's choice in the first, which was a key play. It was a diving stop after the Reds had already scored a run and there were 2 on. Ricky Weeks dove behind the bag, got the inning-ending force out at second, or else the Reds would have added another run and maybe prolonged the inning.
It's a play of the game right now for the Brewers.
1 ball, 1 strike to Cairo. After that, he flied to right and struck out. So 0 for 3 for Miguel. Short lead for Heisey down at first. That's the way he argues.
There with a smile on his face.
You got to be kidding me, he's saying. It's the bottom end of the strike zone. Those 7 home runs for Miguel, a career high for him. Another one to Betancourt. This one he'll take care of. It's 6-4 in the dirt, picked out by Fielder for the double play.
Well, the 1-ball-1-strike count to Cairo was down. It was called a strike, but Axford, you got to hand it to him. I mean, whether that ball was a ball or a strike on the second pitch, it didn't matter. He just keeps the ball down, saying, you know what, if you're going to beat me, you're going to have to beat a pitch that's down around your shins. And given a second chance, Yuniesky Betancourt is able to get the front of a double play going.
And Axford has a second chance against Ramon with the tying runs not on base. Ramon in his career against Axford, 2 for 2, 2 homers and a walk. And those 3 appearances have all been this year. The first, of course, was that one on opening day here at Great American Ballpark. A dramatic home run for Ramon Hernandez. Tonight, Ramon flied to center, bounced out, and popped up. That's a call, strike 2. Breaking ball, clips the outside corner. Axford's been right there for the better part of the last 2 years, right about 94 to 96. You see the guard that Ramon has put on that left shin where he banged a foul ball off it earlier in the game in the dirt.
Well, he's been right there also this year in closing the opportunities that he's had. I mean, he is over 95%. When you give him a closing opportunity, he's going to nail it shut. 95.5 coming into this ball game. I mean, so you're looking really tonight, probably the MVP of the league is coming off this ball club. The Relief Man Award will come off this ball club as well. That's a pretty good combination.
It's a winning combination. That's bounced back through the middle, and Ramon is 3 for 3 in his career against Axford. And the Reds cling to life here in the ninth. And Francisco will come up to pinch hit with 2 outs and the runner on first. Now some power in number 25's bat. His number's similar to Ramon's. He's 2 for 2 in his career against the closer.
Well, he could hit one into the river and the Reds will still be down by 1. Although I like to see him hit one into the river. Nearly did the other day when he popped one over the moon deck in right field, 502 feet. He's up there to hack.
Line to left. Coming in, Braun. He'll squeeze it. First pitch swinging. Francisco's retired on the fly ball. Ryan Braun, rightly so, gloves the final out after 2 home runs from Braun gave the Brewers and Prince Fielder a win in game 1 of the series. 6 runs, 7 hits, and an error. 5 left for Milwaukee. 3-9-0 for the Reds and 5 left for Cincinnati. Prince Fielder wound up with his 33rd homer of the season. Braun hit 2 for 30 home runs on the year. Kotze and Kataris joined the home run parade. End result, a 6-3 win in game 1. Still more to talk about. JD, what do we got coming up?
Well, George, to steal your phrase, we'll put a capper on this one coming up. A Friday